The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hi, this is Robert Mays from The Athletic. This time of year always gets busy, but that's when having Peloton in my life really makes a difference. The new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ, helps me fit in great workouts no matter what's on my schedule. It's Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Peloton IQ plans your workouts, tracks your progress, and corrects your form so you can train smarter and make the most of your time. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Achtung Millwall, the #1 Millwall podcast, broadcasting from beautiful South Bermondsey. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to a special edition of Achtung Millwall, unusual edition, in that it's not directly football related, although it kind of is, because football is what brings us all together. The reason that everyone listens to this show and all the other shows that are around in the Mill scene at the moment, we're quite well off for podcasts, is football. Football in recent times, modern times, has taken it upon itself to, for better or for worse, to have more of a role in what you might call social issues. In particular, the subject of today's edition and a couple of recent shows that I've done relating to the prostate cancer campaign that football has engaged in. Now, I don't know about you, dear listeners. For a lot of time with these kinds of campaigns, they go in one ear and out of the other. And so it was for me with the prostate cancer. You see, managers wearing a little man badge thing that they have. And it's been running for many, many years, isn't it? Prostate cancer and football together. Sky TV have done stuff, we all know, and the pre-match screens and all that kind of thing. And as I've said, it like all blokes, it goes in one ear and out the other, rather. But I was really driven, to, but just by the sheer weight of coverage that the subject gets at football, which is my own particular focus of a lot of my life. And I suppose at some point it must seep through into your silly little male head that this thing is a real thing, and that you need to go and get yourself checked out. Now then, we did a couple of shows recently where the club involved in the campaign invited us along, myself, Chat with Chaps, to come along and meet Paul Robinson, Lucas Jensen in particular, who spoke really well about his own familial experience with prostate cancer, and Millwall fan William Kilgannon, who I did a show with the other day, post-match show, but also mentioning his own family's experience and his father's sad loss of his father to prostate cancer. So I was really interested when Bill Slack, our regular contributor, sent me this message, which I'm going to roll right now, and I think it will do its own talking. Do stay tuned. Have a good listen to what Bill's got to say.
Hello, Nick. It's Bill Slack. I just wanted to follow up on your conversation that you had with William about prostate cancer. And I wanted to get into the nuts and bolts of the early signs or symptoms of prostate cancer. I haven't got any medical training. I'm not Dr. Bill Slack by any stretch of the imagination. But when my dad was 61, he got diagnosed with this particular cancer. And he's 81 now, and attends every home game with me in the odd away game. So, we're in a position where whenever we're at the Den, me, dad and my son, who are all Bills, are sat watching the Lions as 3 generations. And we are incredibly grateful that that's still the case. Because, I'm painfully aware of the fact that There are many, many, many thousands of men that die each year, and a very large percentage of them unnecessarily, for two reasons. One, men are absolutely fucking shit at noticing changes in their body, or ignoring things that in the back of our heads go, that ain't quite right, or that's changed. And we make excuses. We're too busy at work. We're too busy with this. We're too busy with that. I've got too many people to look after. I'm out of the house 60 hours a week grafting. All of which is true for many of us. But when it comes to this stuff, it's no excuse at all. You have to make time. And the other reason that men miss it is that the symptoms of cancer, prostate cancer, can be mistaken for getting older, knocking on a bit. Things are going to change with my body as I get older. Things are going to happen. Things are going to start dropping off. The early symptoms of prostate cancer, for the most part, are centered around changes in your waterworks, how you wee. I can't think of a better word than wee. I'm sticking with wee. Don't judge me. So I'm going to run through some of the signs that perhaps you should get yourself checked out. And the older you are, I'm 55, the older you are, if any of these things start happening, you need to get yourself tested. And I'll explain how you get tested in a minute. Now, if you have difficulty starting to wee, or you've got a weak stream when you're urinating, that's a little red flag, and you should start thinking to yourself that you might have an issue. If you're needing to wee more often, especially at night, that's another little bell that should be ringing. If you have a feeling that your bladder's not completely empty after you've finished weeing, that's another little sign where you should be saying, "Hang on, son, I'll need to check this out." Or if you have difficulty starting to wee, or you really strain, you're really pushing your wee out, that's another sign that says, right, hang on a minute, I'll need to check this out. The way that you get tested for prostate cancer is by taking what is called a PSA test. Now, a PSA test is a blood test. So nobody is going near your arse if you're getting your prostate tested with a PSA test. It's a blood test. So you ring your doctors and you would say, "Hello, I want a form for a PSA test, please." They'll know exactly what a PSA test is, and you go and get the form and you go and get a blood test. The PSA test tests for an antigen that the prostate produces, and if there's raised levels of that antigen, it might signify that you've got an issue. Now, it might also signify that you've got an enlarged prostate. It might also signify, if you're a lot luckier than I am, that you've had a bunk up in the last 24 hours. There's lots of reasons that PSA reading might be higher than normal. It might also signify prostate cancer. The numbers around prostate cancer and the amount of us that get it is truly, genuinely shocking. 1 in 8 of us, that's 1 in 8 of us, will get prostate cancer at some point in our lives. I don't know what Nick's dear listeners' numbers are. It's a closely kept industry secret. But you know, you do the maths. If there's 800, if Nick's got 800 listeners, 80 of us will get prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is eminently treatable if it's caught early. And your early signs, I can't say this to you enough, lads. The early signs are changes in your waterworks, going too often, struggling when you're going, feeling full, your bladder feeling full, even having a bit of a fucking dribble when you think you've finished. All of these things are signs. All of these things quite possibly might be things that we don't want to admit to ourselves or you don't want to talk about with other people. You don't actually have to discuss it with anyone. You just have to ring the doctor and ask for a PSA test. Thousands of dads, granddads and brothers die every year because they didn't know the symptoms or they ignored the symptoms. And it's just foolish in the extreme. Now you know them because I've told you to ignore them. Now getting back to my dad didn't have any of these symptoms at all. He had another medical issue, and the doctor, for reasons best known to him to this day, his GP decided that he should get his prostate, should have a PSA test. He had a PSA test, and his antigens were through the roof. Went for a test at the hospital, who then said, no, you haven't got it. Went back to the GP, and the GP said, I'm sorry, Bill, but I think you have. I'm sending you back. And he was diagnosed, and he had treatment, and he's lived another 20 years, and I hope I've got him for another 20 years. The point I'm making is there are some of us who will get prostate cancer who won't have any of these symptoms. So your answer is the same. Your answer is that you get a PSA test. You just request a PSA test from your doctor once a year, because that way, if something changes without you realising and without you having these symptoms, it will be picked up. The government aren't screening for prostate cancer at the moment. We'll leave that for another day. But we've all got phones now. We've all got calendars on our phones that will give us an alarm. Put a recurring appointment in your phone. 1st of December every year. That pings. I've got to go and do my PSA test. And if you don't know how to do it, get your kids or your granddads to do it for you, because it will save one of us listening. It will save one of our lives. It really is that important. Listen to what your body's telling you. Look out for changes. Things ain't going to work quite how they did when we were 21. Because if it did, nobody would ever have invented the blue pill, would they? You know what I'm saying? So please, 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 if you've got any of these symptoms, get a fucking PSA test. If you haven't had any of these symptoms, get a fucking PSA test, and then get a PSA test on that date every year after. Yeah, I think I've covered everything, Nick. More nervous doing this than I ever have been talking shit about Millwall, because this is really important. I want to finish by a quick message to William. William, what happened to your family and your old man is absolutely tragic and all too common. And I just want you to, I'm sure your old man will be so proud of you. What you've done in his name is absolutely incredible. And I've got the deepest respect for you, mate. And I'll sign off with saying, lads, get a fucking PSA test. Cheers.
Bill, that's fantastic, mate. I just wanted to pick up on a couple of points that you've made there, because I have a personal experience of having the PSA test done and consequent checks with the GP. As I said at the start of this show, and I think Bill's touched on it very, very well, better than I have, really. As blokes, we do tend to run a mile from the medical profession if we possibly can. I will say to you, dear listeners, that all of my life I've done my level best never to go to the doctors if I can avoid it. Why is that? I suppose there's a bit of fear. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. There's fear, and that there's a sense. It stems from fear, a slight sense that you're invulnerable as a bloke, and for the most part, most of your life, you probably are when you're young. But unfortunately, old Father Time has a way of cutting you down. Like there's a song that says that sooner or later you're going to get cut down, and so it is with all of us. From my own experience, I noticed some of the points that Bill made in his fantastic commentary there. Going to the toilet overnight, having a wee, and we're going to use that word now, Bill. Wee. having a wee overnight, all the things that Bill mentioned, and combined with the weight of the relentless prostate cancer campaign that you get at football. So these things came together. I'm 65 now, listeners. I know it's very hard to believe, but it is true. So yeah, I went and got the PSA test done at my local doctor's. Without disclosing too much information to spoil your breakfasts, listeners, I actually did have the old finger test done as well, which how people do that for pleasure is beyond me. So there's always humour, and humour is built on embarrassment, and that's your enemy here, listeners. That is that's the demon that lurks behind all of our shoulders, the embarrassment factor. I thought hard about whether I should embarrass myself by telling you about my finger test at the GP. But no, if it saves someone's life, if it helps, put someone in a position where they find out news that can help save their life, then so be it. The point in getting too embarrassed about such things, we all know how the body works. At the moment, I'm still, I've got one more test to go to at Newham Hospital. But I just wanted to share that with you because none of us are immune to this stuff. And at the end of the day, you only have one life, I believe. If there's any evidence to the contrary, I'd love to see it. I've never seen it. I bet you haven't either, listeners. So, you owe it to yourself to get yourself checked out, to get this stuff done. And if you can find yourself in a position where you find out and you get another 20 years like Bill's dad, great work by Bill's dad there. That's 20 years that you could otherwise not have had. Got to be worth it, isn't it, dear listeners? I think I'm certainly glad that I, in the end, allowed the prostate cancer campaign to get through my thick skull and go and do something. So far, so good. I've got one more test to go. Everyone's telling me that everything seems all right. We'll see and go with it from there once we've been through that. But my message to you is to second everything. Second Bill's message, which I think was fantastic. And I wanted to stick this out as a one-off show. It's nothing really to do with football directly beyond the fact this is what brings us together. And we need all the fans we can get at Millwall, dear listeners, and your family needs you. So how can we put it in the end? Get yourself tested, PSA tested at your GPs, and let's all follow the lines on for as long as absolutely possible. Huge thank you to Bill Slack. Big shout out to William Kilgannon, who did the previous show with me. And do get in touch if there's any other help or pointers that we can make through Achtung Millwall. We're not a medical podcast, but we'll do our best. Till then, dear listeners, big thank you to Bill again. And from me, Nick Hart, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to this edition of Achtung Millwall. If you're tuning in via Spotify or YouTube, please feel free to comment, like or subscribe as you see fit. God bless. Until the next show then, it's bye for now.
Who do you want to watch?
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.